So I've gone, or you've seen some of the hinge stuff. So the next part, if we're doing a deadlift, would be again practicing a deadlift with a pole before we even move on to a bar. This is where it gets a bit tricky, and it really depends on your mobility. So just have a look at what we're doing, and if you need to reach out, please do. So there's a lot of intricacies when it comes to having a look at your deadlift pattern. It can depend on your limb length or your hamstring flexibility. What I'd like to get you guys to do in practice is what I say is grabbing a pole here like so, but rubbing the side of your thighs, so reaching out with your thumbs where you're just in contact with the side of your thighs. Then you grip the bar. That gives you an idea on how wide to have your hands to start off with. The other thing here is what I try and do during the lift, not too hard, but we suggest sort of breaking the bar. So that helps keep your elbows locked out, but also can help keep your lats on. And I'll explain a bit more about the lats as we go on. So my toes are shooting forward. I'm gripping the bar, I'm breaking the bar in half a little bit. Watch me, I've just pulled my shoulders up. What I want you to do is, this is called lat packing. So pull your shoulders away from your ears. So if we do that, we hope that you feel like your lats are turned on a bit. Now if you don't fully understand that just yet, that's okay, but just do your best. So my shoulders are pulled away from my ears, toes are still shooting forward. From here, you want to sort of keep the bar as close to you as possible and shave your legs. So I'm getting down to about the center of my shins, which is pretty good. I've had to let go of my knees very slightly, but they're pretty close to vertical. And now the tricky part is coming back up. When you're doing a deadlift, what we sort of say is you press away from the earth initially. So all this has got to stay straight and turned on, but you press away. When the bar gets to your knees, that's when you drive your hip forward and stand to attention, like we practiced when we had the pole behind our back. So you still have to visualize or understand that feeling of what it was like to have that pole on your back and keep a neutral spine. So watching again, shoulders away from ears, breaking the bar, toes shooting forward, I'm nice and tall. I breathe in. I shave those legs, so I'm keeping as close to my center as possible. I'm getting to the center of my shins or thereabouts. Good position, I'm driving up, or I'm pressing away from the earth, or even think about if you've been on a leg press at the gym, you're pressing into the leg press, bar gets here, drive your hip forward. What we don't want to see you doing is this sort of stuff. Yes, your spine is probably in a pretty good position, but that is a bit more of a squat, and we don't want that just yet. What we also don't want you doing is, this is what people tend to do in their efforts to try and hinge. Okay, they're hinging off their lower back and they start rounding. Okay, so you've got to find that in-between bit. So with your deadlift, you might need to just come to your knees for the time being, because that's as much as your hamstrings will allow you to do. And that's fine. So hinging over, just to here, keeping neutral spine and driving forward. The hope is, if we work on your hamstrings a bit, and in general, if you practice the movement, what tends to happen with a lot of people is the hamstrings, they loosen up or get used to it and they adapt. So from there, that's when you can start getting below the shins. And again, if you get below, the knees, and if you get below the knees, you drive away and you drive your hip into it. So again, if there is a bit of tightness going on, you want to try and keep to maybe just going to your knees without doing this sort of stuff, because you're not flexible enough. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind with your deadlift. So that last bit, when we talked about mobility and you being able to hinge over appropriately and maybe only getting down to your knee without rounding your back, that's an important video that coincides with the standard deadlift. So I want you to practice that technique as much as you can with the pole. You're not going to get it 100% right first time. It takes some practice. All these things are skills which you need to learn and acquire over time. If you do get stuck, make sure you reach out, maybe even send us a video through and we will fix it up from there.